Love is all we need. In light of the events in Boston during this past week, we may agree. We need a little bit more love and loving in the world. And that is the very issue that is addressed in one of the most famous of the Psukim, most famous verses in this week's parasha, and the second of our two parashiot, Parashat Kedoshim. There, in chapter 19, verse number 18, come those immemorial words, V'ahavta l'recha kamocha ani Hashem. Love your neighbor as yourself, I am God. In this verse, we see first of all that we all have the capacity to love. V'ahavta, you can find love. Nobody, despite their background, despite the pain and the wounds of their life beforehand, can say there is no love. The love is there, the capacity for love is there. It may be a lot deeper and harder for some to find. L'recha, extend that towards other human beings. Not only towards your fellow Jew. Re'acha can mean your fellow Jew. Re'acha b'mitzvot, say some of the commentators. But in a wider sense, it means anyone who is your neighbor, another human being. And that is also why the word is kamocha, a person, a human being who is just like you. For we all share so many things in terms of our common humanity, in terms of our pain and in terms of our joy, we link to other human beings. And then the final words of the pasuk, Ani Hashem, I am God. Seems rather strange. Love your fellow human being, interpersonal relationships. I can understand. Why do we have to bring God into that? We have other commands of V'ahavta et Hashem, love your Lord your God. Why are they placed together? And there's a beautiful story that illustrates or gives us a reason as to why the words Ani Hashem follow straight after. And it is a story that is told about two friends, intimately connected. They were like this. From childhood, they'd always been together. They trusted each other implicitly. They stood by each other. Came a time when the one man he was a businessman, he had to make a deal with the rulers of the time, happened to be a king. And he goes to the king and says, I have got the deal of a lifetime. It's going to make a fortune for you. The king likes the idea and he says, fine. He says, but how do I know? I need some kind of guarantee. This is like $1 billion deal. How do I know you're going to see it through? And the man says, well, I can give you some surety. He says, surety, yes, but he says, you know what? I want you to give your life. That you will offer that if you don't see this deal through, you forfeit your life. And the man says, okay, I'm convinced this deal is going to work. He says, well, the other problem is, he says, what if you're not here when the deal comes through? I want you to have somebody who will stand surety, somebody who's prepared to say they will give their life for you if this deal should collapse. The man says, well, as it happens, I have just the right man for that. I have a friend from childhood who I'm sure will stand surety for me. And the friend agrees, and the deal goes ahead. However, as with all deals, there's always a problem. There can be a problem. And there was one here, the man had gone off on the ship. He was bringing back this huge consignment by ship, and the ship breaks down before it reaches port, as the deadline is reached, they are out there, cannot get into port in time. The king says, summon the guarantor for me here. This deal is not through, the man's not here, the good's not here, bring his guarantor. The guarantor is brought before him, and the man said, look, I understood, I knew exactly what I'd let myself in for. You have to take my life, I give my life. And it is while they are preparing the execution, past the deadline, and the deadline had passed, the execution is getting ready, when the ship has come into port, and the deal maker comes rushing in and says, no, hold it, I'm here. I know the deadline has passed, but you certainly can't take my friend's life. Take my life. And the friend looks at him and says, no, I agreed. The deal, that was part of the deal. Take my life. And they stand in front of the king saying, take my life, take my life. The king says, you know something, guys? I have a way out of this for you. He says, I'm prepared to let you both live on one condition. And what is that condition? He says, make me your third partner. That is what Hashem, God, says to us when he sees us acting in a loving, compassionate, considerate way towards our fellow human beings. God says, that is what I want. And he says that if you act in that kind of way, then what you automatically do is you make me your third partner. Our challenge, particularly in the light of the events of this past week, is to make God our third partner, is to reach out with love instead of hatred, and is to allow the power of love, which is far stronger than the power of hatred, to triumph and to be our signature in the world. I wish you all Shabbat Shalom.